when is it the right time to shut up? Seriously, ask yourself that question. At what point during casual conversation with other individuals do you find yourself sort of speaking to a point where you are no longer allowing others in your vicinity the opportunity to express themselves? Well, we're going to talk about that today. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Neostarling, and I am back here with another podcast. Now, stop me if you've heard this before. You're out with a group of friends, right? Maybe there's like 4 or 5 of you, and something really cool happens throughout the course of your day. Something I would even say rather interesting. As you're trying to articulate and let the story be known to those around you, somebody in your circle randomly stops you. Not because they didn't want to hear what you're saying, but rather what they felt that they wanted to say instead was more interesting. So your story just got interrupted. Vamoosh, perished. It is no longer in anyone else's thought process. And as a result, you don't want to speak about it anymore. Well, dear viewer, there are times where you need to know when to shut up. There's going to be points in your life where it's not okay to interrupt others, and you got to just let them go. Let it go with the flow. You see, there's an old saying, when you are interesting, you are no longer interested. Now, often when people are listening to a podcast, there are moments where you could be doing something else more interesting than what I'm talking about. You could be doing your laundry, you could be in the gym getting a good workout in, or just studying, and you need something that's background noise. I could be background noise, right? Now, when you are interesting, you are no longer interested. Now, what that could possibly mean, there's a plethora of different things that can mean, but let's simplify it here, because here at Big Brother Neo's podcast, we like to use simple language so that it's easier for me to get my ideas out there and for you, dear viewer, to understand what I'm saying. There are moments in people's lives where they've achieved so much, they've reached the upper echelon, so to speak, that anything else that you have to say might be mundane by their standards. It might not matter much to them, because it's not that you yourself are not interesting, although you might be boring. That is also a possibility. They've just gotten to such a high level that the things you have to say don't really matter much to them specifically. It doesn't mean that what you're not saying isn't relevant. It just means that what they are saying, they feel matters more, right? Now, I've been this person. A ton of times, man. I can remember moments in my life, even recently, where I had to stop and think to myself, wow, did I really just interrupt this person when they were like on a roll, when they were like on a good thought process, and because I wanted my ideas to be portrayed instead of theirs, I could just cut them off? That certainly happened. Heck, that's the reason I'm doing this video. You see, because I don't only do this podcast so that I can just blabber on to all of you. This is about lessons I wish I knew when I was younger, but there are also lessons that I'm still currently learning now, right? Because what kind of person would I be if I acted like I'm some fully realized human being that has nothing else to learn? No, there's tons to learn. Of course there's tons to learn. And that's what I want to talk about. So here's the thing. Often what's happening when someone chooses to interrupt you and become the voice of the conversation that's happening around them, oftentimes that person is suffering from some sort of insecurity. Yes. And if you shut this video off now and you're saying, ugh, God, someone else talking about insecurity. Well, there's a reason I say that. Think about this carefully. You, dear viewer, might have found yourself in this situation as well. You have a particular mastery in a subject, right? And you want people to know about what you're talking about. Let's simplify this for you. Pretend that you all saw the latest episode of the newest popular Netflix series, right? Whatever it is. And you all start to talk about it. Now, if you saw it 2 or 3 times because you just loved it so much, you're going to be like, ooh, I know exactly what happened. And then you start to tell them because you want to be the first to say it. The person that gets on a YouTube comment and they write first, the reason they're doing that is because they want to show themselves. They want to display the fact that they were able to get to this content sooner and click on it before you did, because they want to be acknowledged. And that's where a lot of the insecurity comes from. It doesn't matter how good you are or how intelligent you are in a certain subject. If you don't allow others to speak their mind as well, what you have to say becomes diminished because you're interrupting. You are becoming a disturbance. You are now a nuisance to those individuals that want to get a thought across that you are not allowing them to get through. Right? Now, how do we deal with these situations? Because once more here at my podcast, first and foremost, If you're gaining any value from what I've been saying so far, please feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Do the damn thing and help a brother out so that I can keep spreading this message. And because I just like talking to all of you. Let's face it, I love talking. I myself, I'm a talker. You know, there are times where you have internal dialogue or diarrhea of the mouth. And because of that, I make these videos because I have a lot to say. And sometimes in order for me to say it properly, I have to do it in a recorded format for you. There's a plane or something flying overhead that kind of interrupted my thought process. But let's just get back to it. Fuck it. Right? So I want to try to give some practical solutions, again, because I feel that it's one thing to tell you what I want to talk about, but if I don't have anything to offer, then, you know, what I'm saying is kind of null and void, realistically, you know. I don't want to just hear it myself. I want you to get some value out of this. So here's the deal. Now, if you find yourself being the person that is constantly talking, I want you to stop for a moment, right? Because I know how much you can't help yourself. Just stop and shut up. Don't say anything. Let the other individual speak. Not only do you want them to speak, but you want to interject. You want to ask them questions. You want to tell them, hey, you know what? Ask them an open-ended question. How's your day going? Keep it simple, right? Did you pass that test that you were studying so hard for, that I know means a lot to you so that you can get into that university? Ask them those type of questions. What's going to happen when you do that? You're going to look great. Yeah, they're going to love you. In their eyes, you're going to look like a significantly better human being because you took a genuine interest in what they are doing. Now, here's the thing. This is the dark side about asking people open-ended questions, is that you're going to get the answers. You're going to hear them, and what they have to say might be boring. You might not want to hear what they're saying at all. It might be really annoying, and it might feel like it's like watching paint dry on a wall. Now, that's not because the person giving you the information is boring. That is actually because you yourself are so into the individual that you are that it is painful. It is, you get a degree of impatience actually trying to listen to somebody else speak because you're so used to hearing yourself. But here's the thing. If you're actually friends with these people, you got to listen to them once in a while, man. You can't just be this person that constantly spews out information and never takes a genuine interest in what others are doing, because you're going to look bad in their eyes after a while. You do reach a point of diminishing returns where what you're saying is no longer interesting to the people that are listening to you. Now you are no longer the interesting one. They are no longer interested in you. So you see how the script flips when you do things like that? So yeah, no, totally. Take an interest, man. I've never understood the need for people to want to hear themselves so much, me included, right? That you can't just take a minute or two to actually listen to something else that the other person is telling you. And the reason I tell you to do that, again, because first of all, if you really care about them, and these are actual friends or family or just individuals that you feel have relevance in your life, you want to give them a voice too. Heck, that's what Dale Carnegie spoke about in How to Win Friends and Influence People. Somebody's walking their dog. And mind you, in no way, shape, or form am I an expert on this, but I know that when Dale Carnegie wrote that book, in essence, it's basically just speaking about how important other people outside of you are. You know, if you want to make friends, if you want to network and make connections with other individuals, you have to take a genuine interest in them. You can't just be the person that says, oh, look at me, I have product, please buy products, please purchase and spread products, but yet you're not offering any real actual value to the individual that might be a potential buyer because you're just so full of yourself, you don't really care about them. And heck, if they're boring, I get it. Heck, there are people that just don't really have much to say, which is why you ask open-ended questions. Take a real interest. What I like to do personally when I'm speaking to somebody that's a little quiet, let's say there's a group of 3 of us, right? Now just try this out one day. Let's say there's 3 people talking. You are obviously the blabbermouth. You're the loquacious one that just doesn't know when to shut up, right? And the other person is just sitting there. They kind of want to interject, but they don't know what to say. You know what you do? Pause yourself for a moment and be like, so what do you think? Blank, whatever their random name is, whatever the individual's name is. Just say, hey, what do you think? Ask them for their input. And don't interrupt them. Wait for them to actually give you an answer. And heck, sometimes it could take them a little longer because not everybody is adept at giving fast, quick, interesting, witty responses, you know? You have to let people exist in their own space in order for them to be comfortable, right? If you bring somebody on a podcast and you interview them, Do you just speak the entire time about yourself, or do you let the person that you're actually interviewing give you their story, right? There has to be a healthy mix. There's a back and forth. You know, when you are playing tennis, for example, you know how you spike and you hit the ball, and once you hit it, the other person hits it back, and you have a back and forth with each other. That's exactly how conversations are. Because if not, then the person playing tennis might as well just have the machine shooting the balls at them. But that's boring, right? You don't get any real value from that. There's no challenge in something that doesn't fight back. You know, even if you're having a debate with somebody or you're having any kind of conversation with someone, you want to hear the other voice, you know, because you might as well lock yourself in a room and speak to yourself if that's the case, right? Look, man, sometimes you need to know when to just put a lock on it, right? Just be silent and listen to somebody else. I guarantee you it will improve the quality of your life, because you probably have people in your circle that might not think highly of you, and not because you're a bad person, but simply because you don't take a real interest in them. And when you don't, people feel it. Okay? They feel it. Don't think that your actions go unnoticed by everyone else. They totally go noticed. Okay? I'll share this quick story before I shut this podcast off, because I've been talking a lot, right? Speaking of talkers, right? So I have a friend in my friend group. I won't say his name. I won't shout him out like that, because, you know, he's going to know who he is. Trust me. This is how full of himself he is. But I love this guy with all my heart and soul. He's one of my best friends. I consider him a brother. Now, he speaks so much and he interrupts people so much when they're speaking that he himself came up with a code word for us to utter once he's gotten to a point where he's monopolizing the conversation. Now, I won't tell you what the word is, but there have come many situations where we've had to actually utilize said code word, just so that he would be quiet for a minute to let the other person interject and say what they want to say. Now, can you imagine that? Can you imagine being so self-aware that you're like, hey, man, if I'm talking too much, just shut me up in a discreet way. And then that way somebody else can talk. I think it's amazing, and I think it showed a lot of growth from him. And it showed a lot of growth for me as well, because I've also had moments where I had to take a step back and realize that, damn, you know what? I'm monopolizing this conversation. I'm not really letting this individual get their thoughts out. You know, what kind of person am I? But yeah, anyway, I've been talking too much. Look, if you guys like this, you already know the deal. Feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm Neostarling. You are all awesome. And don't ever, ever let anyone tell you different. Signing off.